Hello, my name is Crino. I'd like to talk about the European Union. Have you ever wondered what led up to the creation of the European Union? It's 27 nations, former nations really, in a federation. They are ruled by a commission in Brussels made up of appointed, not elected representatives with a rotating president. There is no appeal to the legislation they create. They hand it down to the parliament, which is made up of members of parliament of the 27 member nations. Now the parliament can accept or reject the legislation, but they cannot generate any legislation of their own. And so it's been said that over 2/3 of all the legislation generated in those 27 nations comes out of the Commission in Brussels. Now, if you analyze this carefully, Napoleon, the Kaiser, Hitler, and Stalin would probably approve of such an arrangement. Well, let's go back into the roots of the European Union. 1913, a young revolutionary named Joseph Stalin wrote an essay titled Marxism and the National Question. By national question, what he meant was, how do you take a sovereign nation and propel it towards world government without the benefit of warfare? The key word is regionalization. 6 years later, 1919, in Paris, France, they're hammering out the World War I peace treaty. President Woodrow Wilson submits the League of Nations Covenant, an entree to world government. Now, the New World Order folks that are in attendance enjoyed seeing that document. However, their jubilation came to a halt when they realized the United States Senate wasn't going to buy into it. So they decided to make up for this setback, to take a leaf out of Joe Stalin's essay, and they identified Europe as an area to be regionalized. And of course, this was all very secret, and they worked diligently. In 1952, they came up with the European Coal and Steel Commission, and that was incorporated, and this became the first truly visible sign what they were up to. 5 years later, 1957, they went to Rome for what was known as the Treaties of Rome, and behind closed doors, they literally laid out the European Union with its single currency, its single judicial system, and progressed from there in various steps. And in 2005, Christopher Booker and Richard North published this book called The Great Deception. The subtitle is The Secret History of the European Union. They contend that the European Union is the most significant coup d'etat in the history of the world. Well, what does that mean to the United States? Well, what I'd like to say is that this same plan is in process in the Western Hemisphere. It entered North America in 1992 when the United Nations agency called the Organization of American States introduced it to President Bush, who handed it over to President Clinton, who handed it to the House of Representatives, and it was implemented in 1994. Now, what does this mean in parallel with the European Union? Well, in 2005, June 9th, a Dr. Robert Pastor appeared before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he explained to them that what this meant was opening the borders in 2010, so North America can be one whole, so to speak, with our security around the outside perimeter. Well, later on, Lou Dobbs called Robert Pastor back before camera to challenge him on losing sovereignty when you follow this process. Robert Pastor denied it vehemently. Yet, if you go to Robert Pastor's book, Toward a North American Community, it's all laid out there. He explains how we need to convert the United States, or the whole North America, into a federation with a commission, with a parliament, a single currency, a single court system, a central bank. So by a great deal of exposure some of us created, it has been pigeonholed. But I can assure you that it is not dead. Recently, there's been a negotiation between Canada and the United States where the Canadian police will have the authority to operate in the United States, and United States police authority to operate in Canada. So we stopped them on the big issue, but they're giving us the salami treatment. We must expose it. Exposure is the root, because all this bypasses the Constitution. I want to thank you for your kind attention.